So I was just saying, I'm going to share a little tidbit of a story from the Bhagavad Gita, which is, hi, good morning, a very important text in Indian spirituality. And the context for the story is there's this warrior. He's had this crazy family conflict for a long time, and they've finally come to the moment where the two sides of the family are going to duke it out, and that's where the Bhagavad Gita starts. They're on the battlefield. And all this stuff goes on. He has a trusted advisor who's a member of his family, Krishna. And Krishna to him is just like Uncle Krishna. He has no idea that he is God incarnate, right? And so they're having all these conversations on the battlefield, and Krishna's like starting to have a meltdown, Arjuna. And he's like, I don't know if I can do this. I can't fight my family. Like, what am I doing? And there's various levels of meltdown, lots and lots of conversation. But the section of the story I want to tell you is this part where Krishna starts to tell Arjuna who he really is. He's like, yeah, so I'm actually God. And he's like, what? You're on my side? Like crazy. And and then he has all these questions and he's like, so like, tell me everything, like what's, the whole story with this world we're experiencing. And Krishna's sort of like, we don't have time for that, but we're in the middle of a battle. And but then he's like, okay, if you can't tell me everything, can you at least show me the nature of what you really are? Because he's starting to tell him like, I'm everything. I'm literally everything. I'm this tree, this board, this weapon. I'm you. I'm your enemy. Like I'm all of it. And he's like, whoa, that's really hard for me to understand. Can you show me? And so Krishna's like, I don't know if you can handle it, but sure, let's try. And so he basically like flips on his, let's take off this illusion of your human experience. And I'm going to show you everything that is behind this incarnate universe as you know it. And so can you imagine, right? You're a human being. You're used to looking through these two eyes, feeling, tasting, touching, seeing your reality. And then suddenly you get to experience all manifest form from all time in eternity forward and back. Can you imagine what your nervous system and your body might do? You'd just be like, whoa, you totally a bolt of lightning, right? Like I can't even handle it. So that's what happens to Arjuna, is he just totally freaks out. And Krishna's like, I knew this would happen, like predictable. You think you can handle it, you can't, these silly humans, And so he comes back down to earth with Arjuna and he's like, breathe, breathe, breathe. Arjuna's nervous system is lit up. He has no sense of what he can do to actually ground himself. And Krishna, being God, knows exactly what he needs to do to reground himself, come back to this moment, to fully deal and see with all of reality as it is. You must be in your body with your breath. You have to be in this container, right? So the reason I'm telling this story is because last night I went to see the Anthony Bourdain movie, Roadrunner. And I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a huge cultural icon for a lot of people. He was a chef who wrote a book about kitchens and then went on to travel the entire world in sort of the second half of his life after having had a pretty tough run before that. He was a heroin addict and never got to travel because he was stuck in the kitchen. And in the course of the movie, you experience him experience the entire globe. He traveled around the world at least 26 times, over 1 million miles traveled just in a short 10 years. He spent over 250 days away per year traveling. And in so many of the scenes of the movie, I had this sensation of being Arjuna in this moment with Krishna, where just the whole manifest universe is going past you and you're forced to open your eyes and see the world as it really is, and not as your imagined human illusion of it, the perfection, all the things. And as we know, things ended sort of hard for Anthony Bourdain. He dealt with a lot of depression and addiction, and I think that experience for him was very challenging, partially because he didn't really have the tools to ground his nervous system, right? It's really, really hard to be with the full reality of all things when we don't know how to come back to these bodies in this container and support and hold and feel the full experience of being alive, right? It's so much. So the beauty of these practices, the idea with a lot of these practices is that we're strengthening our container to hold this raw universal power, to ground it, that we can trust ourselves to be with all of this in the full reality, and that we have skills and tools and support to come back into our bodies and feel that and hold that and really be here, right? So all this to say, this path, when you really start to walk this path, right? I mean, we do certain things on our mat here, which really help prepare us. They build physical strength. They give us mental fortitude, emotional and spiritual openness. Sometimes we crack open channels in our body we didn't even know could be cracked open. But everything beyond the mat as well takes such courage, such bravery, such honesty to really be with, right? And we practice the skills, the tools, the resources to be able to hold all of it. And what grace that there's even a path, that there are even people who've been telling these stories and thinking about these things for many thousands of years. Some say 25 to 30,000 years, at least the rishis in India, if not others in other places. So all of that to say, here we are, we breathe, we deal with the reality as it comes to us. And it's a very powerful practice. So I invite you, whatever is going on in your world, your life, our collective world, which we know is batshit crazy. It's a lot, and trust that you have the skills and the tools to come back to yourself, to feel it all and hold it all. So close your eyes for a moment and let your hands rest, your body rest, your mind rest. And take a deep breath or two. It's simple, this instruction, this wisdom to just breathe. It can be profoundly boring, but it's profoundly deep. It is the wave of our life force itself, constantly rolling in and out, whether or not we're aware of it. It's our doorway into spirit, and our doorway into reconnecting and grounding ourselves no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. It might feel good to start naturally lengthening the inhales and exhales.